What tastes better, a little burnt? Tea leaves. I think that's how they get oolong, which I drink. As I found out last night. Green beans. Never enjoyed them until I accidentally forgot to stir them in the pan. Roasted carrots. Make them just a bit black on the edges and they're so fucking good. One of the best days ever was when I discovered they came out with extra toasty Cheez-Its. Garlic. When it's a little extra charred/roasted, you know you're in for a flavor trip. Creme brulee. Literally a little of it is burnt if done properly. Everything. I had to do my own cooking as a little kid and I would always burn everything. So I just learned to like the taste of burnt food. I burnt the shit out of a bologna sandwich the other day and it was delicious. I do roast mixed veggies. Usually potatoes, Brussels sprouts, onions, squash and peppers, and I used to cook it like recipes said to, but they were always mushy. Until one night I lost track and somewhat blackened them, and OMG. Revelation, way better a little scorched. Roasted carrots. Provided you do it at a high temp so they aren't mush by the time you get wisps of char. If ma bacon ain't crispy, it's marginally less delicious. Asparagus. Cauliflower and broccoli. I prefer cauliflower and broccoli oven roasted. Asparagus is amazing with olive oil and salt/pepper and cooked directly over a wood fire. So good. I make these Swedish pancakes, basically crepes, and I like to get the pan incredibly hot with brown butter and let it go till the edges are technically a little bit overdone, but that actually makes it taste better ironically. Also, bacon can be good if it's just a little burnt. I'd rather have bacon that's a little burnt than that floppy shit any day. Not charcoal, mind you. Though. My aunt likes it completely black and it's horrifying to watch. What's the oldest website you still visit or have an account with? I just realized I've had my broadband reports, aka DSL reports forums, account nearly 22 years. I spent so much time there and still swing by every once in a while. Met a bunch of people on there. Some of whom I have met. And some I see in person once in a while. Fuck. I'm old. Google or Wikipedia. Used the web from the start in the early 90s. Some forums are also very old. Like the Scandinavian Flashback. And I guess I have visited the biggest Scandinavian newspaper homepages since the 90s. Those days. They were good. Got an old guy online account. Don't know the exact age of it. But a website without an account. Maybe once a year or every 6 months I decide to check out 4chan to see if it's still the wasteland I remember it being. Side note. It's a lot worse than it used to be. I still use my work email account, directly descended from my Bitnet account. Established in 1988. Far fewer bangs these days. Have also logged into Cyber1 and played with the Plato emulator. My original accounts were established in 1980. Among others. For my friendly orange glow peeps. I flew as Grinch of Group Orions. I'm not 100% sure of the timing. But I got my @mac.com email address early enough for it to be, first name last initial @mac.com, now at iCloud.com as well. Apparently that was sometime in 2000. Interestingly enough, that was the year I got my current cell number, first name, and 4-character .com domain. I think anything that predates that is now defunct, e.g. excite.com email. What is it like to come back home to a loving and supportive partner? It's like having a dog. It's wonderful and I'm grateful. But it's not guaranteed. I hope it's just a hard time. A temporary phase. For you. Good luck to you. Pretty casual. We unload on each other about that asshole at work. I make dinner, she's awesome. But she can't cook. I keep her out of the kitchen whenever possible. We eat it. We go to bed. We're in our 40s. So that is indeed pretty boring by 20-something standards. But I must insist it is reassuring. It's pretty great. But has its downsides as well. Like sometimes if you just want to vent and simultaneously troubleshoot a situation and the only responses are things like, well, what do you think is right? Or it's gonna be okay. And quat. Sometimes I genuinely like some constructive criticism. As soon as you see them you get butterflies, even after years together. It is amazing to have someone support everything you do or try. TBH, it is great to be believed in. I didn't have that with my previous 2 girlfriends. So when I got with my fiancée it was a new experience that felt surreal. We have been together 10 plus years now. We support and love each other endlessly. I am sorry you are going through a tough time. I hope TGs get better for you soon. Don't give up, my man wrote this. When you have had a rough day, they are there for you to let it all out. If that means crying like a baby, that's what it means. It also means one that instead of saying, unless it truly is, that's a stupid idea and quat. Instead they say I believe in you. Let me know if I can help. And quat. It truly is such a fantastic feeling knowing my wife is in my corner through everything. And honestly, she is the single reason I wake up every morning. Women in relationships. How do you deal with your partner's best friend/friends that you don't particularly like? One or a few conflicts of value wouldn't necessarily make me dislike or not get along with a person. I have many friends of whom have differing values to me and we get along well if we otherwise have things in common and or they aren't bad people. There are still many things to talk about. Just remember to be open-minded. And understand that many people's values are a product of their background and in many cases not necessarily their fault nor indicative of them being bad people. That changing one's values is difficult and a lot of hard work. So it's really quite normal for people to have the ones their family raised them with. It took me a really long time to like my husband's best friend. She's a girl and I had never dated anyone seriously who had an actually just friend's girlfriend. So I think in the beginning there was some jealousy there. But we're also just very different and didn't have very much in common. But I kept trying and she kept trying. I'd ask him how she was doing, and when Jay saw her I'd be kind and try and keep conversations going. Now years later when she comes and visits we can be friendly. We are still not besties by any means. But my husband and her connect and I'm glad he has a good friend like her. I think he's a good influence on her as well. Well, I'm 38 now and so far any relationship where I've had that problem we ended up not lasting very long anyways. Every good relationship I've been in, I've never had that problem with any of my partner's friends. When it did happen in those other relationships, I just was cordial with those friends and minimized my interactions with them. I'd tell my partner about the problem and how I felt uncomfortable. But yeah, ultimately the partner ended up doing something toxic and our relationship would end. So long term it didn't really matter.